Well, hello, greetings, lupus warriors and lupus survivors all around the world. Welcome to another video brought to you by the Lord's Lupus and Support channel. And I just wanted to pop on today because I wanted to continue our conversation about working in lupus. So I don't know if you got a chance to catch the video on last night, but I talked about how lupus interferes with your work or your career, how it could possibly interfere with your job performance, or with your career aspirations. Okay. And so I kind of talked about like I kind of gave you some lupus facts as far as percentages on how lupus impacts your work or your career. For example, I talked about, 60% of lupus patients report that lupus interferes with their job. 40% reported that they had a difficult time managing stress and, their self-esteem was impacted or has been impacted due to lupus. So I kind of talked about a few facts and gave you some percentages. But on today, I wanted to continue our conversation, if you don't mind. And I wanted to talk about, factors that impact a lupus patient's work performance indirectly or directly. And so I have about 4 factors here that I'm going to go over with you. And I think, as you can see, I have like 2 pages of information. And so I'm breaking it down into small pieces because I don't want the videos to be too long. And also, by doing this, I'm preparing to possibly soon have a much longer conversation with you regarding work on a YouTube live. So bear with me. I'm getting everything together, how I should present it. But we're going to be diving into how lupus impacts your work. We're going to be talking about, maybe in the next couple of videos, your rights that you have as a lupus patient on the job. And so we're going to be going into different things like the Americans Disability Act and FMLA. We'll be talking about that on the next couple of videos maybe, okay? But I got to get all of my information together first. But anyway, let's talk about 4 factors that indirectly or directly impacts a lupus patient's performance at work. The first one on the list is stress levels. And so as a lupus patient, and you're still working, whether it's full-time, part-time, occasionally, whatever your work setup is, definitely there's going to be some stress involved because you're trying to manage your job demands and you're trying to manage the demands of lupus. And we all know that lupus can be very demanding. And so stress levels have a direct or indirect impact on your work performance. Stress levels at home, stress levels at work, stress levels because of lupus. And we all know that there's a whole gamut of stress that comes with lupus: doctor's appointments, labs, flares. All of this can put stress on the mind, the body, and the emotions. And so on last night, I left you with the fact that it's so important to make sure that you have a work-life balance when you're working with lupus. You have to have balance in your life. You have to find a way to stay organized in order to juggle everything that's required of you. In order to juggle everything that's going on in your life, you have to be organized. You have to find balance. And not only a work-life balance, but you have to find a work-life rest balance. Okay? Those three things, if they're out of order, it's going to cause you a tremendous amount of stress. And what do I mean by rest? You have to balance your work life, your family life, with some time to rest and recover. Okay? Because work life is pulling at you. So that's energy. Family life, family responsibilities, they're pulling at you. So that's taking away energy. Okay? And you have to find some sort of way to set aside some time to make sure that you are restoring your reserves. And that is by getting adequate rest and sleep. You have to set aside time for that. Because if you don't, you're going to be burning the candle at both ends. At both ends. And what happens when you burn the candle at both ends? It leads to you crashing and burning. Crashing and burning. So lupus and work and family, there's a whole lot of different ebbs and flows. And you can't be rigid either. You can't be so rigid. You have to leave space and time for surprises. Things that you didn't count on happening. Things that just pop up out of nowhere. You have to make room and leave room for surprises when things don't go according as planned. Okay? Number 2, your self-esteem. It impacts your work performance indirectly or directly. Because if you don't have confidence that you can continue to perform your job, or sometimes your confidence takes a hit because having lupus, it will reduce your job performance. It will reduce your output at work. Okay? You may not be able to, how should I put this? You may not be able to do the same amount of work at the same time that was required before you were diagnosed with lupus. Because remember, lupus impacts all areas of the body. It affects all systems of the body. And sometimes you're going to have good days, and sometimes you're going to have bad days. And when you're having bad days, you're going to need a little bit more support at work. Things may take a little bit longer for you to accomplish them. You may have to ask for help on a particular project in order to meet the deadlines. And we all know that sometimes lupus comes with brain fog and anxiety, depression, pain, fatigue. All of this is a part of what's going on inside of your body. May not look like it on the outside, but there's a lot going on behind the scenes. And so lupus is draining your energy anyway. And when you're tired, your output, your production may not be as it was before. Let's say if you work at a call center and you were taking 150 calls a day. On a bad day, when you're having a lupus flare or you're tired or something is going on or you're stressed out, you didn't get enough sleep last night, you may not take 150 calls. You may take 80 calls that day. And so as a lupus patient and you're still working, you have to be flexible. You have to be accommodating. And those that work with you, they have to be flexible and accommodating as well. Okay. Number 3, social support will impact your work performance directly or indirectly. What do I mean by social support? When you're working and you have lupus, you not only need the support of your family, but you need the support of your coworkers. Your coworkers need to be very understanding of what you're dealing with and be able to support you when you're having a hard time. And maybe not all of your coworkers may be as, as understanding. They may feel that you signed up for the job. Regardless of what, you should be able to fulfill your obligations. And some of them may even say, well, I have bad days. And so, what gives you the right or the excuse not to continue with your production? And so that can impact your job performance, your social support system. So it pays to have at least somebody on the job who can understand what you're going through. And kind of help you out sometimes when you're having a bad day. Everybody needs that, I think, whether you have lupus or not, because we all have bad days. Believe me, we're not all producing on 100 cylinders, whether with lupus or without lupus. And number 4, last but not least, your overall attitude, the overall attitude of your coworkers, bosses, and the lupus patient themselves can have an impact on your production at work, directly or indirectly. And so we kind of covered all of that. And so number 4 just kind of sums up everything that I just talked about. But anyway, that's all I have for you today. Stay blessed, stay encouraged, stay strong. Remember, there is life after lupus. And take care.